Here we have a German field officer. He's wearing the standard field grey uniform, the slightly darker trouser with his red trim. He has his epaulets of rank and he wears the standard German black leather accoutrements webbing. His cap is in field grey with his red band designating infantry around it with his plain red leather peak and his standard infantry brown boot. Here we have the field officer for the British. He wears his normal British olive drab uniform for the summer. He has his khaki puttees on. Many officers chose not to, some of them wore boots. He has his standard red leather webbing, which is standard to British officers at the time, and wears his insignia not only on his shoulder strap and collar but on the bottom of his sleeve as well, something that I believe was disused later in the war because it made them stand out so much. He wears his gas mask holder for the first of the gas masks around his neck and carries his pistol. Also, you'll see he is wearing the standard green gloves of an infantry officer. Here we have a senior field officer for the French. He wears the standard French uniform blue, not the long frock coat of the infantry. He also wears the red trouser and black boots. Here he has his designation on his shoulders, the top of his shoulder in his pips. He's carrying a standard pair of binoculars and his walking cane. His kepi is still of the original officer kepi with the blue lower base with the red top and all his gold trim to designate his rank. Here we have a Belgian officer in the field wearing the standard officer's kepi without cover. He has his regimental insignia on his collar as well as his designated rank. His uniform and regimental jacket is very sparse. He wears the off blue trouser and has his red stripe down it for regular infantry. The second German field officer here, wearing the standard German backpack, obviously in action this chap. He's wearing the black accoutrements, he has the standard uniform on. You can see his Pickelhaube again is covered with the green overcover water cover, but as you can see his black backpack is in black to fit with his accoutrements, and he carries the standard German infantry officer's sword at his hip, something that would later obviously not be used when the trench fighting started. Again, he wears his rank on his shoulder epaulet. Here we have the standard French infantry officer in the field. He wears his blue coat, standard blue coat, with his traditional red trouser for the 1914 period, and he is wearing his infantry kepi for the officer with blue and the red top. You can see the blue crossing across the top of it for the standard infantry officer. He wears his insignia markings for his rank on his shoulder pips, carrying his pistol, and he has his normal black accoutrements with a black map case fastened on. We have now the officer for the French chasseurs. This chap is wearing all blue uniform, standard to the chasseurs, with this slightly different colour of blue trouser. He is wearing black accoutrements webbing and wears his designated officer rank on his sleeve. Here you see him wearing all of his medals for his previous campaigns, and the standard kepi for officer in the chasseurs. Here we have another regimental officer for the Belgians. He carries the same accoutrements in black leather, the same uniform and designation, but here he is wearing a field cap with a red stripe designating him as infantry, and round his neck he wears a red leather holder for his binoculars, and carries his marching stick. We have here a French officer for the Marine. He is wearing again standard French blue. He wears a blue cover to his kepi, which would normally be white on the top. For the Naval Marine, he has the red stripe down the trouser, and on the kepi cover he has designated an anchor to designate him as a Marine, and he has his officer insignia on his collar. Again, the standard bread bag and the standard black accoutrement. Here we see the standard French infantryman of the period, wearing his long dark blue overcoat with the turnbacks, sometimes fastened, sometimes down. He has the standard red trousers of the French poilu, back to the Napoleonic period. He wears his black accoutrements, webbing with his cartridge pouch at the back. His markings on his collar designate his regiment. He has the standard kepi, which in normal conditions would have been with a black peak and red, but here he is wearing a horizon blue stroke sky blue water covering over it, and he is carrying over his shoulder with the beige stroke brown bread bag. Here we have the standard German infantryman of the period. He wears his field grey German uniform with his red trim, slightly darker grey trousers and his brown boots. His black pickelhau helmet is covered with an off-green helmet cover, and he has the standard brown to chestnut brown webbing of the German infantry. His blanket roll is the standard brown covered blanket roll. Sometimes they had a black waterproof cover that went over the top of it, and as you can see, he's got the green water bottle of the standard German infantryman. His red trim designates him as infantry. Here we have a British infantryman. This time this one is from one of the Scottish regiments. He's wearing his Glengarry cap. He wears the olive drab cover of the green summer uniform for the British infantry. This did change later on through the war period. Some still wore the summer green olive drab. It went to a more off khaki colour. As you can see, his webbing is the standard British khaki webbing. I made it stand out here for you, nice easy to see, and he has the putties in his webbing colour. Sometimes they were in the same colour as the uniform, sometimes the same colour as the webbing. His trenching equipment is in black, and he has his water bottle there with the brown cover over his water bottle. Here we have our standard Belgium infantryman. As you can see here, he wears the same kind of frock coat as the French, and a slightly darker, deeper black blue. He wears his off blue, horizon blue almost trouser that the Belgians wore at the beginning of the war, with the red trim. His kepi is water cover in black on it, with the red pom-pom out the front to designate infantry. He is wearing black accoutrements and webbing, and all his mess kit, including his water bottle, is made of tin. He has the equivalent of the German bread bag on his back, and his blanket roll, and everything is wrapped up in a nice field grey. Here we have the German Jaeger light infantryman. He wears his standard field green tunic with light green trim. He has field grey trousers with a blue trim down them. He's wearing puttees as this figure instead of the normal traditional brown boots. You can see that he has his brown leather equipment, and his black shako that he normally wears is covered with a off-green shako cover. He has a beige to brown bedroll, which was standard through a lot of the armies, as you can see. And he has the number of his regiment painted on or marked on to the top of his shako cover, the 6th Regiment, as you can see on this chappie. He has his green water bottle and his brown bed bag. Here we've got your French Marine wearing his long frock coat, same as the infantry. This guy having it with the firm back sash down. He has standard blue trousers, and he wears the very obvious standard naval cap with the red pom-pom on top. He has the red trim around the collar to designate his section, and he's wearing all the French standard accoutrements. The black webbing here, you can see the backpack, which was standard right across the French infantry. He has his water bag, and again he has his glass gourd for his wine on his hip. Here we have the Belgian chasseur, the light infantryman. Standard equipment basically to the regular infantryman, as you can see, but the throwback to the old black hat or top hat style. Everything else just about the same, the mess kit, the bread bag, but the Jaeger still stands with the old German style field green trouser and has the red stripe down. This designates them differently to the infantry. Many of these troops wore a typically German type field cap with the red designation stripe around it, which in turn could get them mistaken for German troops, so this was gotten rid of at a later period. Here we've got the French light infantrymen or chasseurs of the period, the foot chasseurs, wearing their standard blue jacket uniform, a slightly different off blue trouser that he's wearing here with the standard chasseur yellow stripe down it. His kepi is blue. They did also wear the watercolour the same as regular infantry, but here he's wearing his normal kepi with its yellow trim. He has his black webbing with his bread bag the same as the infantry over his shoulder. He's wearing grey puttees here around the top of his shoes. The puttees could have been all different colours. This one is wearing grey, and he has a water gourd, the green water gourd, green, sometimes glass, sometimes pot gourd over the shoulder there. Another throwback to an older time.